Boris Johnson 2019-2022. Boris Johnson, born on June 19, 1964, in New York City, began his political journey as a journalist before transitioning into politics. His career in journalism included positions at prominent outlets such as The Times, The Daily Telegraph, and The Spectator, where he served as the editor. Johnson's charisma and wit earned him recognition, and in 2001, he became the Member of Parliament for Henley. As a member of the Conservative Party, Johnson's political ascent continued, and he was elected as the Mayor of London in 2008 and was re-elected in 2012. His tenure as mayor was marked by initiatives such as the introduction of the Boris Bikes and a focus on transport infrastructure. In July 2019, Boris Johnson assumed the role of the leader of the Conservative Party, succeeding Theresa May, and subsequently became the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. His premiership commenced during a critical juncture in British politics, characterized by the prolonged and divisive negotiations surrounding the United Kingdom's withdrawal from the European Union, commonly known as Brexit. Johnson's leadership was heavily shaped by the aftermath of the 2016 Brexit referendum, where the majority of the British public voted to leave the EU. His primary focus upon taking office was to fulfill the mandate of the referendum and lead the nation through a complex process of disentangling from the EU. This period saw intense political debates, both domestically and with European leaders, as the UK sought to define its post-Brexit relationship with the EU. Moreover, Johnson's leadership extended into the unprecedented challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The year 2020 brought about a global health crisis, and Johnson was tasked with navigating the UK through the tumultuous waves of the pandemic. His decisions, policies, and communication strategies during this period played a crucial role in shaping public opinion and determining the effectiveness of the government's response. Upon assuming office, Boris Johnson moved swiftly to fulfill his promise of getting Brexit done. The withdrawal agreement negotiated by his predecessor, Theresa May, faced challenges in Parliament. Johnson successfully renegotiated certain aspects of the agreement, particularly the controversial Irish backstop. The revised agreement received parliamentary approval, allowing the UK to leave the EU on January 31, 2020. Following the formal departure from the EU, attention turned to negotiations on the future relationship between the UK and the EU. Johnson's government faced the complex task of defining trade, security, and other arrangements. The negotiations were marked by tense moments, with both sides having to navigate issues like fisheries, regulatory alignment, and governance mechanisms. The ultimate goal was to secure a comprehensive trade deal that would govern the post-Brexit relationship. The uncertainty surrounding Brexit had substantial implications for the UK economy and its global standing. The protracted negotiations and the looming possibility of a no-deal Brexit contributed to economic uncertainties, impacting businesses and investor confidence. The successful conclusion of a trade deal with the EU in December 2020 provided a level of stability and clarity, averting the potential disruption of a no-deal scenario. Internationally, the Brexit process influenced the UK's relationships with other countries. The challenge was not only to secure favorable trade deals but also to redefine the UK's role on the global stage post-EU membership. Boris Johnson's leadership faced an unprecedented challenge in early 2020 with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The initial response involved a series of measures to contain the spread of the virus, including lockdowns, social distancing guidelines, and restrictions on public gatherings. The government's communication during this critical period was crucial in shaping public understanding and compliance. Daily briefings. Johnson, along with key health officials, conducted daily briefings to update the public on the evolving situation. The government aimed to provide transparent information on the spread of the virus, the rationale behind decisions, and guidelines for citizens. Policy clarity. The government faced the delicate task of balancing public health with economic concerns. Clarity in communication about lockdown measures, the importance of social distancing, and the reasoning behind decisions helped garner public support and compliance. The economic fallout of the pandemic prompted the government to implement unprecedented financial measures to support businesses, workers, and the economy at large. The development and deployment of COVID-19 vaccines marked a critical phase in the pandemic response. The success of the vaccination rollout was essential for achieving herd immunity and easing societal restrictions. Boris Johnson's leadership was marked by internal party disputes, particularly within his own cabinet. The dynamics of his government were shaped by multiple reshuffles and high-profile resignations. Dominic Cummings saga. One of the most notable controversies was the departure of Dominic Cummings, Johnson's chief advisor, in November 2020. Cummings was a key figure in the Brexit campaign and early days of the Johnson administration. His exit amid a public feud and reports of internal disagreements highlighted tensions within the Prime Minister's inner circle. Resignations over policies. Several cabinet members resigned during Johnson's tenure, citing differences over policies or concerns about the government's direction. These resignations created an image of internal instability and raised questions about the cohesion of the Conservative Party. Handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Government decisions related to the COVID-19 pandemic sparked public discontent. Criticisms included the timing and effectiveness of lockdown measures, concerns about the adequacy of economic support packages, and controversies surrounding the procurement of personal protective equipment, PPE. Environmental policies. Johnson's environmental policies, or perceived lack thereof, drew criticism from environmental activists and the public. Some argued that the government's commitment to addressing climate change fell short of expectations, leading to protests and calls for more ambitious measures. Labour Party criticisms. The main opposition party, the Labour Party, actively criticized the government's policies and decisions. From COVID-19 response to economic measures and Brexit negotiations, the Labour Party provided an alternative narrative and scrutinized the perceived shortcomings of Johnson's leadership. Public protests. Controversial policies and decisions triggered public protests and demonstrations. Issues such as handling of the pandemic, environmental concerns, and perceived injustices fueled public dissent. These protests served as a visible expression of discontent and put additional pressure on the government to reconsider certain measures. Unprecedented economic disruptions. The COVID-19 pandemic brought about unparalleled economic challenges globally, and the United Kingdom was no exception. The sudden lockdowns, restrictions on movement, and business closures resulted in a sharp contraction of economic activity. Sectors such as hospitality, tourism, and retail were particularly hard hit, leading to a surge in unemployment and financial strain on businesses. Supply chain disruptions. Global supply chains faced disruptions, impacting industries reliant on international trade. The uncertainty surrounding the duration and severity of the pandemic added complexity to economic planning and forecasting. Fiscal support measures. Recognizing the urgent need for economic intervention, the UK government, under Boris Johnson's leadership, implemented a series of stimulus packages. These measures aimed to provide financial support to individuals, businesses, and the broader economy. Furlough scheme. The Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, commonly known as the furlough scheme, was a flagship policy. It allowed employers to temporarily retain employees while the government covered a significant portion of their wages. This measure aimed to prevent mass layoffs and support businesses during the lockdowns. Business grants and loans. Financial assistance was extended to businesses through grants and loans to help them weather the economic downturn. These measures sought to provide liquidity and ensure the survival of businesses facing unprecedented challenges. Infrastructure investment. In an effort to stimulate economic activity and create jobs, the government announced plans for substantial infrastructure investments. Projects in transportation, housing, and technology were earmarked to boost economic growth and provide long-term benefits. Tax relief and deferral. The government introduced tax relief measures and deferrals to alleviate the immediate financial burden on businesses. These included business rate holidays, VAT cuts, and other targeted tax breaks to support cash flow. Employment dynamics. Despite the furlough scheme and other support measures, the pandemic led to a significant rise in unemployment. The economic fallout disproportionately affected certain sectors, leading to job losses and a shift in employment dynamics. The government faced the challenge of not only addressing immediate unemployment concerns but also facilitating the recovery of the job market. Business resilience and adaptation. Many businesses were forced to adapt to the new normal, embracing digital transformation and implementing innovative strategies to survive. The government's support aimed not only to provide financial assistance but also to encourage businesses to pivot and evolve in response to the changing economic landscape. Long-term economic challenges. While the immediate focus was on mitigating the impact of the pandemic, the government under Boris Johnson's leadership also had to address longer-term economic challenges. These included addressing structural issues, fostering innovation, and ensuring a sustainable recovery that could withstand future uncertainties. Net zero by 2050. Boris Johnson's government committed the United Kingdom to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. This ambitious target signaled a strong commitment to addressing climate change and reducing the country's overall carbon footprint. COP26 presidency. The UK, under Johnson's leadership, hosted the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties, COP26, in November 2021. This global summit brought together world leaders, activists, and stakeholders to discuss and negotiate strategies for combating climate change. The presidency presented an opportunity for the UK to showcase its commitment to environmental leadership on the global stage. Green finance initiatives. The government announced various green finance initiatives to encourage private investment in sustainable projects. This included the issuance of green bonds and the promotion of environmental, social, and governance (ESG) criteria in investment decisions. Renewable energy commitments. The government outlined plans to significantly increase the share of renewable energy in the country's energy mix. This involved supporting the development of wind, solar, and other clean energy sources to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Ban on gas and diesel cars. In a bold move to tackle air pollution and reduce carbon emissions, Johnson's government announced a ban on the sale of new gas and diesel cars by 2030. This was part of a broader strategy to transition the transportation sector towards electric vehicles and sustainable alternatives. Investment in green technologies. To foster innovation and accelerate the transition to a green economy, the government invested in research and development of green technologies. This included support for emerging technologies such as hydrogen power, carbon capture and storage, and sustainable agriculture practices. European Union. The relationship between the UK and the European Union remained a focal point of international relations during Johnson's tenure. The post-Brexit period involved ongoing negotiations to define the terms of their future relationship, including trade agreements and cooperation on various issues. The dynamics of these negotiations influenced not only the UK's relationship with the EU but also its standing in the broader international community. China. Balancing economic interests with strategic considerations, the UK sought to maintain a pragmatic relationship with China. While acknowledging the economic opportunities, the government faced challenges in addressing human rights concerns, especially in the context of developments in Hong Kong and Xinjiang. Navigating this delicate balance was essential to fostering economic ties while upholding values and human rights principles. Middle East. The UK continued its engagement with countries in the Middle East, addressing regional security concerns and participating in diplomatic efforts. The government played a role in facilitating peace talks and addressing conflicts, such as those in Syria and Yemen. Additionally, the UK's relationship with key players in the region, including Saudi Arabia and Iran, remained a significant aspect of its foreign policy. United Nations. The UK, as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, played an active role in addressing global challenges. This included participating in discussions on international security, peacekeeping efforts, and humanitarian issues. The government utilized its position to advocate for multilateral approaches to global problems. G7 and G20. As a member of the Group of 7, G7, and the Group of 20, G20, the UK had opportunities to engage with other major economies on economic policies, global health, and climate change. Hosting the G7 summit in 2021 provided a platform for the UK to lead discussions on pressing global issues and demonstrate leadership on the international stage. Commonwealth. The Commonwealth remained a valuable network for the UK to engage with diverse nations. The government worked to strengthen ties with Commonwealth member countries, leveraging shared historical connections and collaborating on issues such as trade, development, and climate action. Russia. Managing the relationship with Russia posed challenges, particularly in the context of alleged state-sponsored cyber activities, interference in democratic processes, and tensions on the global stage. The UK's response involved a combination of diplomatic measures, economic sanctions, and efforts to maintain a united front with international partners. Iran nuclear deal. The UK, along with other European signatories, played a role in efforts to salvage the Iran nuclear deal. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. The government sought to navigate a delicate balance between upholding the agreement, addressing concerns about Iran's nuclear program, and maintaining stability in the region. North Korea. The UK maintained a keen interest in the situation on the Korean peninsula, supporting diplomatic efforts to denuclearize North Korea. The government contributed to international sanctions and engaged in diplomatic initiatives aimed at fostering peace and stability in the region. In conclusion, Boris Johnson's leadership during the period from 2019 to 2022 was marked by significant achievements, challenges, and controversies. The evaluation of his leadership style, coupled with speculation on future political developments, underscores the dynamic nature of governance and the intricate interplay of political, economic, and global factors. The coming years will likely witness continued assessments of Johnson's legacy and the unfolding of new political dynamics. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it informative, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future.